here we go. Welcome to Intrusive Thoughts. We're so glad you guys can join us or stream this or watch this or tune in. Do people still say tune in, Bonnie?
No.
They don't say that? What do we say?
No.
What do we say? What do we say? Watch it, stream it,
Yeah.
observe.
Definitely not observe.
Thank you for observing our show
just say watch
today.
this. I think I
Our
would just say
podcast.
watch this. But
Thank you for watching this. Make up your mind. Honestly. Guys, my name is Zach Jernigan. I'm a student pastor at Idlewild Baptist Church in Lutz, Florida. Not Lutz, not Luds. I said it wrong a few times when I first moved here. And I'm joined by Ben and Bonnie. Bonnie and Ben. Thank you for having both of you. Names that start with a B. Bonnie, tell us just a little bit about yourself. We're going to do some introductions. We're going to get to know everybody real fast.
all right. My name is Bonnie. I just graduated from Steinbrenner.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am going to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in the fall.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. I'm very excited. I've been going to this church for like 11 years now, since I was in first grade. So I love this church. I love this family. And I'm really excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. You said you graduated from Steinbrenner. Did you receive any kind of accolades or anything like that when you graduated?
You know, I was voted most likely to be president.
And
And I was valedictorian.
there is that little detail there.
Yes, I
You
was
didn't want to brag,
valedictorian.
but we want to brag for you. So you're still humble. You still get to keep your humble pin. Awesome. We had to include that little detail there. And Ben, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Yes. First of all, I would never have been a valedictorian at all. I think I was a C student at best. But I...
Same. That's probably more me as well.
Yes. I'm married. Been married for 21 years. 3 kids. I have 2 sophomores and a senior. One
Awesome.
sophomore's in college, and the other one's in high school. And then Jamin will be going to Steinbrenner as well. So been in ministry for a long time,
Very cool.
then been with First Priority for a couple years now.
Sweet. Very cool.
Yeah.
We've gotten to know each other just a little bit, and I got to be Bonnie's student pastor, high school pastor this last year. But you guys, your like stories intersect at the First Priority at Steinbrenner, and I got to just have a small part, very very small part in Steinbrenner's First Priority, and I've been learning about it. But Ben, you and I had coffee just a couple of weeks ago, and we started talking more and more about it, and I was like, Idlewild students needs to be at First Priority. And if you are watching this and you're like, I don't go to Idlewild, or I don't even live in the Tampa Bay area, find a First Priority and get involved. And we'll tell you more about it in this conversation. Ben and Bonnie will tell you more about it in this conversation because they know more than I do. But was just so amazed, so impressed with what God is doing. And I'm already a big fan, a big believer in what God can do there.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about all those things. But now we know who Bonnie is, we know who Ben is. And gosh, thank you so much for having names that both start with B.
Easy.
Sounds like you guys need to start a band.
Bonnie and Ben.
Yeah.
Ben and Bonnie,
Yeah,
Bonnie and
for sure.
Ben. If you guys were going to start a band, what like genre would you be thinking? What kind of genre of music would your band be?
I mean...
What if you don't have to like look at, just on the count of 3, say the genre.
I like this.
1, 2, 3.
Christian
Rap.
rock. Okay.
Christian rock, rap.
With a rap feel.
It's
With
gonna
a-
be
yeah.
you're gonna have to compromise here.
Okay,
so
yeah.
you're gonna have to.
Christian
It's
rap.
Well,
Christian
it's like
rap.
that
The next
horrible-
NF, basically.
The next NF.
Oh, I like this.
I mean, you could spritz a little electric guitar in there with NF,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it's basically that. I just remember, like, what was it like? It was probably like 5 or 6 years ago when they started fusing rap and country, or like hip hop rap. And at first I was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to the music industry. And now I think it's just like the second to worst thing that's ever happened. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan now. It's grown on me a little bit, but that's fantastic. So you were at Steinbrenner all 4 years of high school.
Yes.
And Ben, you've been involved a little bit at Steinbrenner, but a lot of other schools as well, right?
Yeah.
So tell us just a little bit, like, what is First Priority? What do you do? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so First Priority, it's a student-led, and we were talking about that a little bit before, but it's completely student-led, campus Christian clubs on middle school and high school campuses. And really, we're all throughout Florida. We have different down in South Florida. There's a bunch of First Parties down there, and then we have some here. But the headquarters is in Tennessee.
Okay.
So we're kind of all over, and we're starting to branch over a little bit, Midwest and Texas, that type of thing. But so we concentrate in the kind of the Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk area.
Okay.
So those 4 regions, that's where we really focus in on.
Gotcha. And so you're involved at all of those, or do you have like a lot of different like people wearing different hats who are doing that too?
No, I'm not. I'm primarily in the Hillsborough area.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we're like right on that line where we've got Pasco folks who come to our church, and in Hillsborough we're kind of like straddle that line just a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's incredible. We want to keep digging into that and getting to know you guys and hearing how people can be involved and how people can kind of tune into what you guys are doing, but what God is doing.
Yeah.
But I like to. I think sometimes we get to know each other best when we make each other uncomfortable. And so I'm going to do just a little bit of that. Bonnie's like, yay.
Oh,
So
yippee.
important question that is not at all related to what we're talking about with First Priority. But if you guys, the 3 of us, were on an island and we're deserted, we're definitely not going to be rescued anytime soon. Who do we eat first? And why? The why is just as important as the who. Bonnie is instantly regretting coming on this podcast right now.
I could tell.
No.
And here's the thing. I think you're probably thinking, I'm the girl. Are you 18? You're
Yes.
19? You're 18. You're like, I'm a teenager. Surely I'm safe here. I'm not so sure. But what are you thinking, Ben?
Man, I feel like this is a lose-lose.
It is a lose-lose.
Yeah,
so 100%.
Well, I mean, we're in a Christian rap band, so we've got to stick together. So, Zach, I'm so sorry, but it's going to have to be
I've never had this conversation in a 2-on-1 kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to think I'm threatened by this. Okay, here's the thing. I would love to selflessly be the guy who lays down his life and sacrifices himself in the most selfless way for you guys to benefit. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to do that. But let's just think about this. I have skills that we're going to need on this island. So just consider those things. I'm trying to
Are
think
you
of the
trying to
skills.
change my mind
I'm
right
trying
now?
to-
Is
I'm
that what you're
trying
trying to
think of
do?
I'm trying to. Monty, what kind of skills are you bringing to the table aside from being in a Christian rap rock band? What do you know how to start a fire?
Yeah, I was in Girl Scouts for 12 years.
Crap, I did not think about that. Okay. I cannot start a fire.
I won a fire building competition one time.
It keeps getting better.
Okay. Oh yeah, let's just cross this bridge.
Awesome.
You're just assuming that we're gonna eat meat. But do you think you could even eat a human? Your life is on the line. You're gonna starve or eat a human. Do you think you could do that? Do you think? Not so sure.
Well, I think if I had to, I probably could.
Okay. Because
If
here's
I
my
had-
thing. Here's my thing. I'd love to
Yeah.
be the hero. I'd love to be, lay my life down, and then you guys, when you get rescued, you go and tell people like Zach was so selfless. He just, he sacrificed himself so that I'd love for that story to be told. But if you're not even gonna live because you got a little queasy, I feel like it's a waste. That's just my 2 cents. So.
So who's Bonnie going with then?
I think Bonnie
doesn't
just
wanna
wants to
answer
get
this.
out of this conversation
think
as
she wants to
quickly as
answer.
possible.
Well, Pastor Zach does have 2 very young children.
Oh, I do. They're little, Ben.
Very, very
They're
young
so
children.
little.
They need their dad.
That's true, but my kids are just starting the prime of their life, right?
Uh.
Like they're going to go make a huge difference.
How many kids do you have, Bonnie? Oh,
This maybe is turning
this is
a little bit.
see what I did there?
This was a
I
pivotal
can't make a
moment.
fire, but I do have 2 cute kids.
There you
So
go.
Ooh. Right, but if
We
you
both
can't
have
make a
kids.
fire, then what
but
are you going to
think
do?
of all the money your parents are going to save at NC Chapel Hill. You know what I mean? Like this just I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay. You know, we'll continue to pray about that, and we'll pray that we're never stranded on an island. And to be clear, I'm not in favor of eating people. Okay, I don't think that has to be said, but I just said it anyways. Back from our commercial break of nonsense and hypothetical conversations. I'm sitting here trying to like segue this naturally back into
How do we move from
Steinbrenner High
cannibalism
School.
to the next topic?
Yeah. You know, so just like cannibalism, you know, if you look at the book of Matthew, no, there's no natural segue. Do you have any friends at Steinbrenner that you have these kind of conversations with, you know, or
About cannibalism?
About cannibalism, or you know, just hypothetical conversations that are nonsensical.
Actually, yeah, for student government, we used to do these things that were, or we still do, that were called like snacks with blank or snacks with Senate, and we'd invite like a staff member, like the principal, to and we'd ask them questions.
Like you put them in the hot
and feed
seat.
them. Yeah. So there would be some hypotheticals. One very like iconic one is if you were trapped on a deserted island, what 2 people in this room would you want to be trapped with? And it was like, and the staff member was always like, oh, it was a fun it was really fun experience, but I don't know if they
did they
loved that
pick like
question.
the super smart like brainiac people or like Boy Scout crunchy granola
No,
type
they
people?
usually picked one really tall guy and usually whoever asked the question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, I guess you.
That's very diplomatic.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very diplomatic. Yeah. Because then you're not hurting anybody else's feelings. That's very cool. Tell me about your time at Steinbrenner. What are some things that you loved? What are some things that were not as lovable you didn't enjoy? No, I'm not saying what did you hate about Steinbrenner. You know, it's a great school. We're not talking bad about it, but what was your experience like?
I had a really great experience at Steinbrenner. I love it. I'll always be a warrior. Go Warriors. I did love it. There's not much bad I could say about it. I loved that every year we did a special needs clap out. So all of the high schools in the area do this thing called Special Olympics. I'm sure it's like a international or national thing too, where the special needs kids, they get to do sports, they get to do this whole like Olympics kind of thing. And every year Steinbrenner would do a special needs clap out where all the students would line up on the sidewalk and they'd like, the special needs kids would like walk through the tunnel while we like cheer for them and everything.
That's awesome.
And that was like one of my favorite memories every year because I thought it was so special and so great. And like, even if like, no matter what, everyone was like smiling and cheering for them, no matter who the person was. And I thought that was just an amazing thing to see like how unified our student body could be. Something I didn't like was the ability to use the bathroom was like very limited. It's so
like,
random.
Like there's not enough bathrooms, or like you're not allowed to.
Like both.
Okay.
Like for the first 2 years there was COVID, so you were only allowed like 3 bathroom passes per class per semester. So like if you had
What?
Yeah.
You can only go to the bathroom
wow.
3 times in a year. I mean per class
Yeah.
per semester. I get that, but that's a lot. That's not a lot.
Yeah, it was really rough. And like there's 5 minutes in between class, so that's their time that they encourage you to use the bathroom. But the girls' bathrooms were all on one side of the school and the boys on the other. So if you had a class on opposite sides, and it was like there was nothing you could do because you had to walk in that 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been to Steinbrenner. Like sometimes it takes 5 minutes just to get from one place to another.
Yeah, it does.
And that's walking fast.
Yeah. I mean, I love the size of the school. There's such a diversity of people that's so rich. You can meet so many different people. And I loved being friends with as many people as I could. And I loved meeting new people and hearing about their experience. I have so many friends that are immigrants. I have so many friends that speak like 3 languages. And I love the culture there and everything. But the size of the school makes it really hard to go to the bathroom. And that's really annoying. But that's all I'd say about
That's
that.
wild. That's wild. These are things you don't think about, I guess. I was talking to somebody just recently, and they were talking about languages. They were like, "Oh yeah, I speak English and French and Portuguese," and I was like, "I'm fluent in one of those languages." But there's a lot of different people from different backgrounds.
Yeah, it's a huge school for a lot of people, different people from different backgrounds. I have a friend that's a Venezuelan immigrant, and she's so cool. I just love her.
That's awesome.
I
I
have
learned a lot from different different cultures.
Yes, yes, for sure. I have a lot of bilingual friends, and I'm trying to learn Spanish from them. It's not working. I'm not very good at speaking Spanish, but I'm trying.
Duolingo.
Duolingo.
I don't know if that actually helps that much, but it feels like a game, so I enjoy it.
I know.
Ben,
me
you speak
too.
any other languages?
I do. I speak
do?
Spanish.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I know like just enough vocabulary to be like, I picked out a word in that sentence, so it's not all that effective or helpful, but very cool. Awesome. Do you, I don't know if this is a dumb question to ask. Does that come in handy with First Priority? Are there any schools where there's just a ton of folks who like Spanish is their first language?
Yeah. No, I don't think
That is
that's
a dumb question.
I-
You're allowed
I-
to tell me those dumb
I
questions.
don't know that it is a dumb question. I haven't had to use my Spanish. Like I just got back from Costa Rica, and
Probably came
I
in
was
handy
able
there.
to, I
Yeah.
was able to use it there, but I have not had to use it speaking with students.
There you go.
So
Who knew?
Yeah.
So tell us just a little bit more, Bonnie, and then we're going to come to you, Ben. Like, how did you get involved with First Priority? You were a student all 4 years. Were you involved like year one, or did you get invited little by little?
So basically, First Priority at like our school started when I was in my sophomore year, because my friend Gavin heard about it from his church and probably from you, Ben, and him and my friend Ava, and I think also my friend Jimmy, they decided to all start it, and it started out kind of small. And then I got invited by Gavin to be like a substitute leader in case someone was gone. And then from there, it kind of progressed to where I was an actual permanent leader. I had to do like a short interview and everything, but other than that, it was an easy process to become a leader for me.
So the whole, I just gather, you didn't like let the whole place burn down when you were a substitute. It's not like it all fell apart, and they're like, okay, we could trust her to be
Yeah,
an actual
basically,
leader.
Basically,
Cool,
yeah.
good. That was probably just a test,
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
like a trial run. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It didn't take, at that time, it was a smaller club, so it didn't take that many leaders anyways either. It was very like discussion group based, very like turn and talk to the people around you. So it wasn't super difficult. And then by the grace of God, it became like a really big club the next year because more people were hearing about it. More people were invited. First Priority has a huge emphasis on invite week too, where basically you just try to invite people and get them to stick to First Priority. And at one point we had like 80 people come in one lunch. So at that point, yeah, we needed leaders, as many as we could. And I became a permanent leader, and it was so amazing to do that. And then junior and senior year, I was permanent leader. So basically like Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday was the planning meeting during lunch with all the other leaders. And Thursday was the actual First Priority club meeting. And I loved Thursdays. It was so fun. It was so amazing to be able to talk about God and just bring a light kind of to my school that wasn't as prominent before, and really just find a community of believers. I have some of my closest friends from First Priority, and I think that's awesome. And being able to keep each other accountable too. Like if I see my friend and she like says something in the hallway that I don't think is very honoring to God, I can pull her to the side, like it says in Matthew where it says pull your brother to the side and speak to them in private. And I can be like, hey, like since we're representing First Priority, we're representing this Christian club, we need to make sure that we're trying to hold ourselves accountable.
You're representing Jesus.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. And we try, and it's a good way to keep ourselves accountable, especially, and make sure that we're showing Jesus' love to everyone at all times as much as we can at Steinbrenner, because otherwise school is already hard enough. High school is already hard enough, and we don't need more hate in high school.
That'll preach.
Yeah.
That'll preach. Ben, so tell me just a little bit about, some students that you've gotten to know. Obviously, you've gotten to know Bonnie as well. But maybe share some stories or students that you've gotten to know, how God's worked in their lives through First Priority. Because I've just had, a pretty narrow focus so far, just seeing it at First Priority, rather at Steinbrenner. Yeah. But I know, there's awesome things happening at Steinbrenner and other schools.
Yeah, it's been incredible just to watch, because these are students that, like Bonnie kind of stepped into this role, and essentially what they're doing is they're running a youth ministry on campus.
Yeah.
And so from the greeting to the lesson to the icebreaker to praying out loud, which a lot of students,
we don't know how to do that. Yeah,
a
lot of adults are uncomfortable.
A lot of adults.
Yeah.
And so it's teaching them some really foundational things and allowing them to lead, because really, I had a pastor he would always ask this question. He would say, hey, who learns more, the teacher or the student? And I'm like, well, the teacher does, because the teacher has to prepare. The teacher has to know their stuff, right? And that's exactly what First Priority is it's allowing them a platform to share and to really own their faith on their campus. So
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I know we're going to talk about, and maybe we should talk about it now, but just students on how they were introduced to First Priority,
Yeah.
and then how it kind of helped them take their next step in their faith and in their journey, attached to a church, and then get a part of a church and start serving on their student leadership team, that type of thing.
We can definitely talk about that now, because like how people got involved. Because you said you were invited by a friend, or you said Gavin invited you. Shout out to Gavin.
Yeah, shout out Gavin.
I'm ADD and I'm a little worried. Bonnie, can you like take this little clip on your thing and just like make sure that cable is in all the way right there? See, like, does it look like it's coming out? Is it in all the way? Yeah, it's good.
I think it is.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It just looked like it was falling out. And I would be like, what a shame. Bonnie has said some great things. If her mic was unplugged and I didn't notice. I'm sorry. So you were saying Gavin invited you. Shout out to Gavin. Would you say most people get involved because somebody invited them, Ben, or Bonnie? Anybody could answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean,
Definitely.
just somebody inviting them. Typically, that's how that works, right? And then they'll fill out an application like what Bonnie did, and then they're on the leadership team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, because sometimes we think, well, we need a website if we're going to start something of significance, or we're going to need an Instagram. Everybody thinks, well, we need an Instagram channel or an Instagram account for it. And Instagram's saturated with like 12 billion accounts now. So it's like, no one's even going to see your account because there's so many now. And you might think like, hey, if I get some flyers out, then people will show up. But I'm asking, not telling, because I have a suspicion this is how it is with First Priority and other clubs. But when it comes to church invites, when it comes to like people showing up the door to camps, even, I think relationships are everything. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, we're gonna spend way too much time thinking about like what the graphic is gonna look like and how we're gonna promote it with a video and an opener and things like that. And all those things matter. But it's just been my experience a lot of times. It's like, you can have the coolest website and the best Instagram account, but like nobody's showing up unless the people who are really bought in are thinking of the people in their sphere of influence, and they're making sure that they get people there.
Yeah.
Is that kind of been you guys' experience with First Priority? You're by the way, you're allowed to be like, nope, it's not it at all.
No, that absolutely is. I mean, it's highly relational. The same Gavin that we're talking about here was he's the person that invited Max. It's another student I think of that did not go to church. I mean, his family doesn't go to church. They want nothing to do with church, and he didn't either. Sam is another one that was invited. Parents don't go to church, and so somebody invited them and said, hey, we're going to have pizza on the invite week. And they showed up and they heard the gospel and they loved the community and they kept coming. And eventually, they invited them to church and they came. And I can think of both of those two guys that I know of, Max and Sam, are both serving at their church.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it never would have happened without an invite to go to First Priority.
Yeah, for sure.
So they got, would you? I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So please correct me if you're like sort of, but not quite like that. Would you say is it almost like First Priority can sometimes serve as like somebody's first step towards church, or their first step towards Jesus and Christianity? And then sometimes like that's the first step, but then you're able to get them into the involved in the life of your church, or growing in as a follower of Jesus one day.
For sure.
Yeah.
I would even say this: it's a great first step, and it's a great next step.
Yeah, that's what I want to be careful. I want to be careful not to like pigeonhole it and to be like, no, this is the only thing it's good for. That's not what I meant at all.
No, it's both. Absolutely, because there are some churches that just go, hey, this is, and we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, that go, hey, if you want to be on student leadership, how are you serving your school? Like, how are you a part of your school? And if there's a First Priority there, we would love for you to get involved in that First Priority.
Yeah. Because so you talked about being a leader. You said there's an application process. What else goes into being a leader with First Priority? Sorry, my eyes are like going back and forth. You're like, you're talking to me or me? You could both answer. Bonnie, you can answer. Ben, you can answer too.
Yeah. There's not it's not a hugely difficult process to become a leader, but staying a leader, and no one's ever been like kicked out, like, oh, you're off of leadership. But a lot of people have stepped down, and I think it's a heart posture thing where a lot of people have stepped down because they believe that they're not in the right place with God at the moment. And I can't sit here and say that all throughout high school I was like 100% for Jesus, because there were so many times where I had so much doubt plaguing my mind. And I remember specifically this one instance, this one invite week in junior year, where my friend Lily did a testimony, and then I was like, randomly, I was like, I'm going to do a short testimony right after hers. It was for invite week. And I stood up in front of everyone, vulnerability, 75 people in the room. And I was like, I've been faking it to you guys for the past 2 months. I haven't felt close to God in like 2 months. And everyone after came up to me and said, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, I've been feeling that too, and I feel like I'm the only one. So a lot of the times being a leader is being a role model, but also being kind of an example of what something that can happen to a Christian teenager, and how we're not perfect whatsoever, and how we're here for each other. Because a lot of the people that aren't leaders in the club have been there for me, especially too, and they've prayed for me, and I'm able to share my vulnerabilities as they are able to share theirs. And being a leader is not only having the pressure of being a leader, but it's being able to fail and knowing there's a community there for you. And knowing that even if you do fail, even if you accidentally say something that's not very biblical or something like that, there's also other leaders there for you too, to hold you accountable. And I just think it's such a beautiful opportunity to be vulnerable and be real and be a Christian teenager and not have the pressure of like having to speak in front of like 100 people. No, you're just speaking in front of a bunch of friends.
Right.
And you're just in a community of believers. So becoming a leader, not a very hard process. Application, maybe an interview. A lot of the leaders I know, I already knew, that the ones that I like approved, because after I was a leader, we had like an approval process where we would meet and we'd be like, okay, I think this is a good fit for our club. A lot of them I already knew. I knew what they were like in school. I knew what they were like out of school, and that helped a lot. But beyond that, it was just...
You're saying like they had a good testimony. Like they're...
Right, exactly.
They were walking with Jesus outside of school, not just...
For sure.
Yeah, that's good.
For sure.
I mean, in a school, like you're there however many hours a day, so many days a week, and that adds up over the course of a year. Like, I just imagine it's hard to fake it consistently throughout that entire period. Like, you're gonna let your guard down. People are gonna see the real you. So that's pretty neat that you have a front row seat to see what people are like day in and day out.
For sure.
And then say, hey, does that match the profile of someone who's a leader? Like anybody can come to First Priority, right?
For sure, yeah.
Right. You're just
anybody,
saying, like,
everybody's welcome to come.
right.
For sure.
You're just saying like we don't just let just anybody be a leader.
Right.
You know, there's grace, of course, and things like that. So, Ben, anything you would add, like
Well,
what all goes
I
into
like
being a
what
leader?
I like what you said even earlier, just about the accountability piece. You know, if you know somebody's a part of that leadership team and you see something, you're able to kind of step into that moment and say, hey, you know, what's going on? And, you know, and I love that. And that's leadership. That's leadership, holding people accountable. So that's another like leadership life lesson, you know, that students are learning as well. So I love that.
I think people like, I was gonna say people my age and younger. I think people of every age struggle with holding people accountable, holding their friends and loved ones accountable. I think sometimes churches are like the most. I'm not speaking about our church, or you know, or all churches, but some churches are just the most passive aggressive place in the whole world. I love this actually. I talked to somebody after church last night. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And they were like, "Good." And then I walked around and they said, "Just kidding, I'm doing really bad." And they were like laughing about it, but they were so quick to just say, "Good," because that's what you say.
Yeah.
And you know, like we're just like pleasantries all day long. You know, it's public graces. I'm just like, "Good to see you. Good morning. So glad to see you. How you doing? How you doing?" And sometimes like that's a small group leader or somebody on the student leadership team or somebody else, and you're like, or the worship team, and you're like, you're in sin. I love you, but you're in sin. And I don't know, Ben, you know, you working with groups like that. Have you ever coached another student or somebody on the leadership team about how to hold somebody accountable in love and how to speak the truth into their lives in that way? Any advice that you've given them before?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier is everything's about relationship, and so when you have that relationship with somebody, it kind of it earns you the right to be heard in their life, right? And so like if there's somebody on that leadership team that you're not as close with, maybe somebody else is closer, and so they're the person that's going to go to them, but you've got to first start with that relationship with them, so you have some relational equity in that person.
That's such a good word, relational equity.
So I think that's huge. And really the way we kind of have it structured as well is there's a director over different regions. So like Chanel is over Hillsborough, so that would be Steinbrenner and Alonzo and Gaither, a lot of the schools in this Hillsborough area. And you guys actually had different leadership like meetings and stuff where you talk through different things. But
yes, we did.
For the most part, I mean, you guys are leading that, but the director's there to kind of steer some things a little bit as well.
Yeah, provide some coaching.
And by the way, there was a lot of accountability in some of those leadership meetings, weren't there?
There was.
Yeah,
there
I was
a
like,
lot
there was
of
more to
accountability.
that because you were like, yes, we did have meetings. Yes, we did. I was like, wait,
Yes.
what do you
Yes.
mean?
A lot of Matthew moments.
A lot of
where
math.
It was like
I've
we
never
we
heard
had
that's
like
good.
we
trademark that
Yeah.
or something.
yeah we had a system where basically if we noticed in the hallways or noticed in real life that one of the leaders were
Pardon that interruption. The camera's died. That's how we're gonna segue back in. Like that's how we're gonna do it. Camera died. If I look a little sweatier, it's because we just had to run to the student building, which is 17 miles away, and then get another camera. So you were on a roll, Bonnie. You were on a roll. You were making some really good points. So I was like, we can't stop there. We got to get back to the show. And so we're good now. You were saying?
okay, basically in these leadership meetings, we'd have like 1 or 2 a semester. We established rules for leaders, right? And we established a system, and it was like a tertiary system. It's based off Matthew 18:15 through 17. I looked it up while you were running to the
tertiary. I'm sorry. I'm just proud. Proud moment. Continue.
I did. Valedictorian. Anyways.
Yeah. Wait, okay. Rub it in. No, that
See,
was
student,
that was
I don't
a
even know what
brag.
that
You did
means.
it. You just did
Tertiary.
it. You lost your humble pin. I'm sorry. Continue. You established this tertiary system. Rules for leaders. Sorry.
Yeah. Basically, it was based off Matthew 18:15 through 17, which I looked up while you ran to the student ministry because I figured I might as well do something with my time. Anyways, and basically it establishes that like if any of you see your brother sin, address him in private, and then if he listens to you, you have won him over. And then the next one was like if he's still like is repeating the mistake or the sin, and he's still like doing the same kind of behavior, then take 2 or 3 witnesses. So that would kind of be like one of the other leaders or something like that. And if they're still kind of not listening, if they're still representing that behavior, especially in front of other students we're trying to represent Jesus for, then it would become like a whole leadership issue. So the leadership team as a whole, we would kind of discuss it. We would try to like decide like what do we do from here. And even then, like we've never gotten that far because we've never had such an issue with it. But I would even venture to say that if it went that far, we would talk to their church and see if this is the behavior that they exhibit in church maybe, and see like, is this something they've said they struggle with? Like, should we give them some grace, or is this something that like they promised you that they would work on and they're just like they don't do it in church, but in school they do it all the time? Is this something that's like a major issue? Like, is this going to hinder someone from experiencing Jesus in the right way? Right? Because if they're not representing a good role model as of what a Christian should look like, then people are not going to know what a Christian should look like. Because they're
representing an inaccurate picture of Jesus.
Exactly. And in a lot of schools, this is the only Bible they experience. This is First Priority is the only Christian experience they may ever have. So it's something that's delicate, and you want to try to do your best. And obviously, there's a lot of grace there too, because a lot of leaders stumble. And I think that God has so much overarching power too, that even if I did mess up, or even if another like leader messed up, He would still step in, and He still has a plan. But He gives us so many tools that we should use the proper way to be obedient.
I'm just amazed because like Ben, like I think like the youth ministry that you grew up in, or the youth ministry I grew up in, like we would have heard something like that and be like, you're being legalistic. Oh guys, be careful, don't be legalistic. And it's like, look around the world today, we don't have a problem with legalism. Most churches, most places, you know, painting with a pretty broad stroke. But it's like, hey, this is an 18-year-old. 16, 17-year-old before who was like saying, hey, let's talk about, how we would handle church discipline. And that might sound like rude or controlling to some people, especially, like, to be clear, you're talking about rules for Christians, not rules for non-Christians,
1,000%,
right?
Yes.
Right.
We're not expecting non-Christian people to act like Christians when most Christians don't even act like Christians.
And the Christians are like very experienced in their faith, and they promise to be, and they claim to be, not people that are new Christians that don't exactly know all of the like right terminology to use or all of the sins and everything, right? We're not gonna punish someone or like not punish, but like we're not gonna tell someone that they can't be a leader if they're like relatively new in their faith and they like say like, oh, I didn't know that, sorry.
Yeah. So let me ask this question, because we're short on time and we all have short attention spans. It's amazing that some of you guys have listened this long. But like, I'm impressed even more than I was already at what First Priority is. You say, hey, we're sharing Jesus with people, and we've got a front row seat to people from all different kind of ethnicities and backgrounds and cultures and languages and countries, and you get to share Jesus with people in a public school in a way that's respectful and kind and loving. So Ben, if someone wants to know, how do I get involved in a group like First Priority, what would be like their first step?
So the first step would be, if you want to, there's two different ways you can get involved, right? You can be on leadership. There's a process that Bonnie was talking about that you have to go through, but you can attend. Yeah. Like there's a First Priority, like we are in 100 schools between all those counties that I just shared earlier. So we're in 100 schools. So chances are pretty good that we're on your campus. And that does include Christian schools as well. But we're going to have a training. We call it our Revive training, August 24th. I think we have 2 or 3 on that day, and then one on the 17th out in Riverview area. But awesome. That's an opportunity to learn what does this look like? What are my responsibilities? We'll talk about how to lead in different areas, that type of thing. But it's a great way just to hear a little bit more about what First Priority is and how you can be involved. And really, you don't have to be. We say this in church all the time, right? God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the call. You just got to be available and obedient. Amen. And say, "I just want to be used by God on my campus." Because, by the way, and you know this, those hallways are dark. Yeah, they're dark. Mm-hmm.
It's true.
And they need some light in those hallways, and that's what First Priority. That's what all those different organizations. That's what they do is they bring some light into that dark environment. So,
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So if you're from Ottawa students or you're part of Ottawa, if you're in the area, I'm telling you, you need to be August 24th. You said August 24th?
Yes.
You need to be at that training. Yeah. You need to get involved if you're a middle schooler or a high schooler, and go hear Ben and First Priority out and see if that's something that you could be a part of. I would love to see as many students from Ottawa get involved in something like that, whether it's at Land O'Lakes or Steinbrenner, and you said maybe some people need to help start a club. A First Priority.
Yeah, if there's some students that are watching this that are going, I don't have one on my campus, we can help you start one.
That's incredible.
We can do that. We will train you and help you get a team together, get a host teacher on that campus, and we'll get it launched.
Amen.
We'll do it.
Amen.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
Bonnie, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for sharing your story and preaching to us and getting on such a great role. That was amazing. Ben, thank you so much for sharing with us. This has been Intrusive Thoughts. Thank you for watching, streaming, tuning in, even though nobody says that. We will see you real soon. Catch you next time.
Thank you.